I'm your host, Felipe Rose, and welcome to the Disco Chronicles and Beyond. This podcast is about the disco era, the music, the culture, and the impact it's had on the world today, and why disco is still so hot. After successfully touring the world for over 4 decades as one of the original co-founders and members of the world-famous Village People, selling over 100 million records, this disco king truly knows a thing or two about the disco era. So sit back and relax and enjoy my conversation with my guest today. Welcome everyone to the Disco Chronicles. I'm your host Felipe Rose, and on today's show I have none other than multi-Grammy award-winning producer, writer, remixer, mixer, you name it. The man does it all in all genres. Please welcome to the Disco Chronicles, Steve Thompson. Steve Thompson, where are you? We lost him.
Again?
There we go. Steve, I did my intro and I said, welcome to the show. And you were gone. Well, first and foremost, I want to thank you for being on the show, on the podcast. When you see it, when it's all pulled together and edited, and we do like a few breaks, you'll get the feel it's more than a podcast. It's like a show.
Well, that's great. I would love to put it on my website. That would be awesome.
And you're going to. I've been on your website for most of the day, but we're gonna have to take another moment here. Christy McVie.
I know.
I mean, seriously.
Well, it started with Irene Cara, which I worked with, and
that was my other thing that I was going to start with, that news, because today's show is with you and I is dedicated. This entire show is dedicated to Irene, and you and I were texting over the weekend, and I was down with this cold, and I was feeling bummed out, and then
Are you okay?
I'm okay. I'm just congested. It's just from here up. If I could take my hat off and put it down somewhere, I'll be fine.
Are you in Brooklyn? Are you in Brooklyn?
No, I'm not in Brooklyn. I'm from Brooklyn. You're a Brooklyn boy, and I'm a Brooklyn boy.
Bay Ridge, I was born.
Brownsville, East New York. So let's right now, because of Christy's passing, one of the greatest voices that's so underrated in the business, would you say?
Exactly. I worked with Stevie Nicks. I love Christine. In fact, I was very sad to see when she left the band, because I thought it was a great compliment to everybody, in the band as a vocalist. And obviously she's a writer and she's a great piano player.
Yeah, she is a very good piano player, and that's also something that's never mentioned. We just saw and had here in the festival. So like a 3-day festival, See, Here, and Now, meaning see the ocean, here and now the music. And Boy George was on the bill with Culture Club, and Stevie was on it in the evening at night. And she really packed a really amazing show. I mean, if anything, I would say that you know this for a fact, because you've worked with so many artists, and then when you return back with them or fall back into them, and then you see them again years later after you've recorded them, would you say that you find their voices much better?
There are certain singers that get better with age. There are certain singers that lose a couple of we'll say range when they get older. Like, when you go with high C's and everything like that. I mean,
right, they have to lower they have to lower the key on their song.
Who's that artist that did Call Me On My? Was that Jane the Americans or Call Me On My? I forgot what the artist it was. But I was actually at a club when he was performing. This is, I wrote this song when I was 16 years old. I had no idea I'd be singing this song when I'm 60 and 70, where I can't hit those notes. And right. that happens with a lot of bands, actually bands I work with, where they basically when they perform live, they have to drop the key down 1 or 2 steps.
Yeah, there are a few singers that I've seen on concert where they do drop the key,
Yeah.
in certain concerts. And so, um, since we lost just recently Christine McVie, your memory of Irene Cara, because her voice literally defined an era. And the last time I saw her, I'm going to say it's probably a decade ago. We were in Los Angeles taping some big ABC disco special with Whoopi Goldberg. But Irene was just wonderful to talk to. And that was the last, memory that I have of her. Well, how was she like with you working in the studio, and what did you work on?
Well, first of all, I'm going to predate a story before that. Polydor approached me to give me 2 choices of what to work on. It was Flashdance or Return of the Jedi Star Wars. Now I knew that Flashdance musically would be more successful, but I wanted my name associated with Star Wars. I was a big Star Wars freak.
I got it right. I get that. I get that. But you are a New Yorker,
right?
So with that movie,
it was like so. I believe Jelly Bean did the What a Feeling mix.
Okay, all right.
And I worked with Irene probably in the mid '80s, and I'm trying to think what the name of the song was. We did a Media Sound in New York, and
out here on my own.
I'm not sure. I was even looking at my discography. It's not listed on there. Obviously, I have to update it, but I know I worked with her, and I had a very pleasant experience with her. I noticed that my assistant engineer brought up the fact that she was pissed off at my engineer because he missed an edit or something like that, which I didn't know, but be as it may, I had a great time with her. She's very professional. She's very good. And it's so sad to lose people like her and Christy. They're gone way too soon. I mean, I lost my.
Say so. I do. I say so, and I love that these types of shows that a few of us are doing we can capitalize and put in a time capsule. At least their memory and to talk about them, because it's sort of like, are we going to have to start celebrating everyone now before they go? Because it looks like that's what we're gonna have to happen.
Basically, our generation of gotten old. I mean, it's unfortunate. I mean, I lost probably my biggest mentor, a couple of men with David Bowie, who's the reason why I got in the music industry. That devastated me. I worked with John Lennon. Obviously, he died way too young.
Too young, yeah.
Prince I worked with, which I was shocked. Because when I knew Prince, not into drugs, all healthy foods, this and that, and to see him die of drugs blew me away. But I found out that, he did a lot of acrobatics on stage and hurt himself. And, doctors prescribed these painkillers. And
it takes you down that rabbit hole. Yes.
Right.
I agree with you. Yeah. I agree with you. I'm going to go ahead and say that I will find the song that you worked on, and if not, there's probably, I forget which album it was, but you've worked with everyone like John Lennon, Rolling Stones, Wu-Tang Clan, Korn, Public Enemy, Madonna. Stop the breath. Hold the breath. Slow the car down, Madonna. Okay. And I think it was what was the song about the heart? Open My Heart?
Open My Heart, Open Your Heart.
That was it. And then someone told me, oh yeah, that's the remix by Steve Thompson. And that's when I started hearing your name. How was Madonna to be in the studio back then? Because today, she's not the same person anymore.
Well, I knew Madonna when she was dating Jelly Bean.
Right, at the Fun House.
Right, and I used to go to clubs, and one night I think she had a fight with Jelly Bean, asked if I'd drive her home, and I said no, and I left.
and did you also have Danceteria, that you hang out there as well and play there?
Well, I was more or less like hang out the garage, Better Days.
Oh my God, you're kidding me. Ladies and gentlemen, in case if there are children in the room, please send them to the other room.
Right, right, right.
Because you, Mister Thompson, Better Days. Are you kidding me? That's a crazy.
Well, I was very friendly with T. Scott and Larry Patterson, and when I went to Better Days, Bruce Forrest was the DJ, and he
These are
looked.
all DJs, ladies and gentlemen. And Better Days was a really, really fierce on 50 something street, ninth,
I'm not
uh,
sure, but
60, but it was a really fierce black gay discotheque.
correct. And you
And
know
you
was cool about?
you had to have some good street cred to get in there. And you
Oh yeah,
obviously got in because you were a DJ, cute white boy, let him in. There we go. Because I saw pictures of you back in the day. Excuse me. All right.
well, I got a little older and fatter.
Yeah, well, listen. We all did, right? So okay. So and who was the DJ there?
Well,
Pandaris?
at Better Days was Bruce Forrest. I became, I belonged to For the Record with Junie Weinstein.
Oh my God, Judy.
I used to hang out with David Morales, Larry Levan, Shep Pettibone, T. Scott, Larry Patterson, everybody. And Bruce gave me uh, the he gave me let me do a couple of guest spots at Better Days, which I was so honored. And what I loved about Better Days, they know music, and you cannot fool the crowd. And the same music they were into, I was playing, so that worked out great. And same with the Garage when Larry Levan let me guest DJ there. That to me was the ultimate.
That's huge, and you know, I'm gonna say that when I went to and I can't remember, it must have been summer. That when I went to I went there one evening to dance and to hang out with friends, and that was the very first time I had ever heard "Date with the Rain" with Eddie
Eddie
Kendricks.
Kendricks, yeah.
And I just like, who is this? And they were like, oh, that's Eddie Kendricks from the Temptations. I was like, are you kidding me? And that song, they broke that song before we even heard it on radio. And that was the great thing about these clubs. There
Well,
was music playing that you never even heard on Radio Top 40.
well, the thing is that my background, growing up in Brooklyn, Queens, Long Island, and everything like that,
Long Island.
and Long Island, yeah,
I call it Long Island because I just really don't know how to get out
yeah,
there.
yeah. No, it's exactly
Even with
right.
Waze and GPS, I still don't know how to get Long
Well,
Island.
you know what's cool about growing up in New York and my parents? That we lived in a melting pot. So there's no ever racial anything whatsoever in my house. My dad used to say, "Hey, we don't care who they are, as long as they're good people. We don't give a crap. What race they are, religion, this and that." And
Yeah,
that's
my house was like that. My mother was like that.
yeah,
All kinds.
yeah.
Italians and blacks
My
and
mom's
Jews.
Italian. Okay, my mom was Italian, so you get the picture. And I never forget, I was in junior high school and in Queens, I believe it was. And at that time, you couldn't speak in class. I mean, it's very rigid. And we had this girl, Dottie West, is about 300 pounds, black woman, would take those portable record players, right?
Ah,
And
yes.
he would be banging James Brown on the King label, this and that. And I became very friendly with Dottie, and she gave me my R&B background. I mean, I love this woman. And then that's where I got my R&B background from her, and actually the Black Panthers as well. I hung out with the Black Panthers in the late 60s, early 70s, and they turned me on to Miles Davis, Bitches Brew, and On the Corner. And obviously, I started DJing around 71, 72, but I had an extensive record collection. The music I are iconic for me, like Marvin Gaye, Al Green, Love Minnie Riperton.
Yeah, you definitely have a very heavy R&B background,
Oh
so
yes,
funk background. So
oh
you
yeah,
were already in the clubs. You were already in the clubs DJing before disco even took off.
right. Well, the thing was how I got to be a DJ in a club was by accident. Actually, a friend of mine who was a neighbor I lived with, I was probably about 16 or 17 at the time. This guy Eddie, he had three children, and he took me and my friend to Fire Island. I'd never been to Fire Island before. And he took us to this gay club in Fire Island, which, was the first time I've been to a gay club. And I saw a guy playing records there, DJing, and I thought, wow, that's cool. So it was
How
interesting.
old were you? How old were you?
Probably about 16, 17.
What?
Yeah, I got in there. So anyway, I remember going to this club in Long Island called Leone's in Deer Park, where bands like Twisted Sister would play. But what was weird about the club is they would have live bands. When the band's off, the club dies, everybody goes to the bar and have a drink. And they had a jukebox in there. So I suggested to the club owner, I said, why don't you put a DJ booth in there? So this way, when the band's off, you don't lose the energy of the club. So I get a call from the club owner about a month later. Says, okay, we're gonna put a booth in there. Will you be our DJ? And this is God's honest truth. And I said, well, first of all, I've never been a DJ before, but I had a good record collection. That helped me. So
Okay.
I said, sure, why not?
You're already talking up a job that you didn't even, first of all, have no experience with.
No, but I knew what good music was.
Okay, right, okay.
So anyway, it was funny. So I started working a lot of clubs, and I belonged to Long Island Disco DJs with Jackie McCloy. And there was a
I know
DJ.
Jackie. I did an interview for them.
Yeah, Jackie's great.
Yeah, great guy.
We had a DJ that Vince Michaels, which I love, and obviously he passed away years ago.
Yeah.
And I remember Vince coming to my club and basically says, "You know what, Steve? You suck as a DJ." He says, "You're terrible," and that woke me up. And I love Vince for that fact. You know, Vince worked in a lot of gay clubs, Equus and Seaford, and I got my game together because of Vince. And the biggest compliment was he let me play in his club Equus. And that was, I think it was on Friday nights or something like that. So, but I got my act together because I was self-taught, simple as that. But I always enjoyed.
Now, where did Clive Davis? Did he hear you play? How did you meet Clive?
Well, that's a different story. To give you a little barometer.
All right, in a nutshell.
In a nutshell, I did my first record that I sequenced was in 1976 called Disco Hustle album, which had a double album that had, I picked all the artists like Donna Summers, Crown Heights Affair, all the popular artists.
It was a compilation?
Correct. And I did that with Phil Silverman, another DJ of mine in Long Island, and Roy B from Roulette Anime Records at the time hired me to do this. So we did the record. I was actually in the commercial too, a dance commercial, which is hysterical. But the album.
What was the name? What was the name of the commercial?
Well, it was Disco Hustle. They were advertising the album.
Oh, okay. Disco Hustle. Okay.
Yeah, it was hysterical. And the album sold at least 12 million copies. I got no credit on the album. I think probably a $250 check. So that was my introduction. And when I first started getting into real remixing music was around 77, 78. I was working in Club Uncle Sam's in Long Island with Mike Arado, and a friend of mine just got a job with TK Records with Henry Stone. And he would
now we're going into disco, TK Records.
Right. So he told Henry that I should be working for Henry. So what we wound up doing is we said, okay, let's send a little thing in. So Michael and myself, we took the song Sully Beat, Fly Me on the Wings of Love, and extended it and did a remix on it in the club. Henry heard it, loved it, and that's how I started doing dance music, to Kathmandu, Stephanie Mills.
Kathmandu is just a spectacular masterpiece still. Yeah. And I still know people, I hear it every now and then. When I get in that mood, I play it. I know other DJs, Lenny Fontana, he lives by that song.
You want to hear a story about that?
Yes, absolutely. Because if a lot of people don't know Kathmandu, I'm going to have to spell it for you, and we're going to have to put it up on the end of the show on the website. But all of Steve Thompson's information and discography and everything will be on the rolling credits. So let's hear that story.
Well, the original song was called DJ Instrumental. So I decided to say, why don't we bring some studio singers and see if we can do a vocal thing of this and write lyrics. And the people I brought in was Sissy Houston, Whitney's mom.
Oh, my God. Wow.
And probably a couple of, I don't know if it was Diva Gray, the studio singers in New York at the time.
Now, Caesar, for people, Sissy Houston is Whitney Houston's mother.
Correct.
Okay, because a lot of people, in this podcast with this new generation, I'm basically we're basically trying to just connect the dots. Cissy Houston was a huge sessions singer.
She also did that song "Think It Over," which is a big club hit.
Thank you. Session singers are singers that an agent or someone will call, or a record company. Steve Thompson, remixer producer, is in the studio. He needs vocals. Are you free? And that's what they do. Luther Vandross was another one. They would run and they would do that job. Sharon Red used to be another one. You know, every time they would ask me could I go to a session, I couldn't because I was on the road with the Village People. So I missed out on all that cheddar.
Oh, sorry.
So continue. So they bring in Cissy Houston and someone else, you said.
So we tried putting lyrics to it, and it wasn't working. So we said, hey, you know what? Let's just remix this instrumentally. We had some overdubs.
Oh, was Cissy on Kathmandu?
Well, we didn't use her because lyrically it just wasn't working. No fault to her, because
I see, but she tried it. She gave it a stab.
Yeah, we tried to write lyrics. It just didn't work out, and didn't have.
It happens. It does happen from time to time.
Yeah. No, so we did the Kathmandu, and we started working on a lot of TK products. Then we in the early '80s, I started working more R&B. With like Central Line, Cameo, Barkays, Stephanie Mills, Earth, Wind and Fire, which
Stephanie, didn't she have, what was it? Was that like sort of like a disco song that you did with her? Or was it dance?
It was dance. You Can't Run From My Love.
Okay.
I have a cold too, sorry.
That's okay.
And
time of the year.
Yeah. And so, if we want to talk about club experience, as most people know, the club vibe in the 70s in New York was like Caligula on steroids.
Yes, it was. That's why I tell, and I think we're going to have to hold it because we need our first break right here. But with the clubs and the decadence of the clubs of those days, what I used to call my innocent decadence.
Right. Okay.
We will be right back in a few minutes, ladies and gentlemen. We're back, ladies and gentlemen, with 7-time Grammy award-winning producer, and you name it. I mean, every song, even opera. He's even worked on opera with a Canadian artist by the name of Priscilla.
Well, Patricia,
that was it. Welcome back, Steve. Welcome back, Steve. We're going to get on to Patricia in a little while. Let's talk about the decadence of the clubs, of what that was like. Because, again, what came close in a movie send-up of Studio 54 that came close to the euphoric feeling was the Halston Netflix. During the pandemic lockdown, Halston with Ian McGregor, that came out. And when those doors opened up, the cameras rolled in. I don't know if you saw it. If you didn't see it, you should.
I didn't see it, but I did do a guest spot at Studio 54.
For that?
I'll tell you a funny story. You'll love this.
No, we're jumping from story to story. Let's just stay consistent. But I want to, and so that came close to that euphoric feeling that you would feel in walking into a club. So you're how old? And you're in these clubs like what? You're now 17, 18, 19 years old?
Yeah, from that, I mean, I stopped DJing in '88.
Oh my gosh, I'm such an old man then.
I am an old man, yeah, but I was a go-getter, I mean, it was interesting being a DJ. You work till 4 a.m. I'd wake up about 5 or 6 in the morning, go to Manhattan and pick up records and go to all the record companies. That was my thing. I had to have the new music before it came out.
You would go to the record pool, right? The New York record pool. And...
Well, I was at the New York record pool, but I would also go to Motown distributors. I go to all the record companies.
Right, because you could do that back then.
Yeah, and they would fill my hands up with vinyl. And also I had to go to Downstairs Vinyl Mania to get the imports.
Right, Downstairs Vinyl Mania. Yes, you're right about that. That was the only place where you had all of the European international disco.
Kelly Marie.
What's that?
Kelly Marie back in the day.
Kelly Marie, Je te tiens, remember that when that came out? That was French.
Yeah. But, getting back to the clubs, I worked in every club possible, but to me, once I became a member for the record, I got to know Larry Patterson, who let me DJ at what was the place in oh God, it's T. Scott played there too. I forgot,
In New
but
York?
it was no, it was out of, I think it was in Jersey. Um,
I live in Jersey now, but I didn't go. I didn't club in the clubs in Jersey. I
well,
was
it was a black gay club. I'm trying to remember
Yeah.
the name of it now, but whatever. But my experience with Studio 54 was legendary. I wish I had a camera phone at the time. Now I knew Steve.
Could you imagine? And I think that's probably why the mystique and the allure still exists, because people, a lot of that stuff that they remember is here.
Yeah.
Those that are alive and can talk about it.
Well, it was interesting. I knew Steven, and Steven's whole criteria.
Steve Rebel was the owner.
Right. He would sit outside, and Mark was the doorman. He would sit outside and handpick people he'd want to go in the club.
He would sit outside in that puffy coat.
With the on Quaaludes, probably.
Remember that puffy coat?
Yep.
That puffy coat now is a Balenciaga coat, so he was way ahead of his time.
Oh, but Steven was hysterical. And it was interesting, I would put a tape on, and I would just hang out by the door and watch his act. People. Because what he would do, he would let the celebrities in, and then he would pick people he thought that would be able to entertain the celebrities.
I heard him say one time, I was standing by the door waiting for some friends, and I'm like kind of waiting. And Mark is in front, standing, pointing at people because Ruben and because Steve said something, and I said to some girl, "What did he say?" She said, "You know, maybe you can stay, you can go." It was like a rhyme.
And then he'd focus on the Brooklyn people that wore the Saturday Night Fever suits.
They were bridging tunnel.
Right. He said, just go home. Leave. You're not getting it. But be as it may, so I'm DJing at night there.
But Steve, that's why they kept coming back, because they were told no.
No, there'd be thousands of people waiting to get in and 25 people in the club itself until they filled it up. But the funny story I had is I took over for Richie Kazo one night, and there's
God bless him. What a great guy. God bless him.
So who comes walking in my booth is Truman Capote. And Truman goes to me, goes, Steven, will you play I Will Survive? And I fucking hate, excuse my French, I hated that song. There was
it was the B-side of her single.
I love Gloria. I mean, I love the Never Can Say Goodbye.
Never Can Say Goodbye, Casanova Brown. I love early.
Exactly.
Gigi and I are friends. Gigi and I are really good friends, but
I love her as an artist, but
you're allowed your opinion. You're allowed to not like and dislike.
Well, everybody always asks me, and when you play songs that long for so long, you hate it. So anyway, Truman goes, will you play that song? So I literally took the record, smashed it about 5,000 pieces, and actually literally handed it to him. He cups it in his hand like this, turns around and walks slowly out the club, shaking his head like this.
The thing is that what a lot of DJs didn't understand is that request is a commercial radio request, which had already played till they ran it into your head. And the same thing with YMCA. I'm going to be honest with you.
Yeah.
I would go to a party, a house party, or any kind of party or gathering, and what do people play? Still to this day.
Oh, I remember you guys are Married with Children. That was hysterical.
Yeah, to this day, people still, and can you sing the song? And they give me a microphone, but they're playing the song with my ex-lead singer's voice on. I'm like, I'm not going to sing to his voice. Are you mad? And I hand the microphone back. So that was that reaction that Richie gave, that you gave Truman, is that to ask a DJ for a song that has been overplayed and you've heard a million times, well, I wouldn't have broken the record, but you did.
Well, the thing was, I didn't have a good time DJing there because they were basically into top 40 disco, and that was not me.
They were. You're right.
I mean, the garage, different story. I mean, I probably have 50 orgasms DJing.
It's experimental. It was experimental, and it played with our senses. It played with our heads. That Larry Levan could go from Love Hangover to all blue lights and freezing air conditioning to then Love to Love You Baby, all after one and mixing right into that, and the lights going red and the heat coming on, coming up, literally within minutes of each other. From one song to the next, we're freezing and then we're sweating
Right.
because all of these elements were in play. But if the DJ knows his audience as well as I know you did, you could not ever stay there as a resident DJ at Studio 54.
Well, I love. Yeah, I
It
love.
was very top 40. It was very top 40.
Well, yeah. I mean, the garage. I could play "Smoke" by Tribe, "Happiness Around the Bend." There's so many. The Robot. I mean, it was so eclectic.
New York City Beach Boys, "Don't Make Me Wait."
Right. Yeah, that was another Larry special.
Don't make me wait for your love. I don't have no voice today.
Well, I had a song. Yeah, I had a song I worked on called "Take a Chance," Queen Samantha, that Larry loved, and helped break that song. That was another TK record I worked on.
Another song that Larry Levan would play early in the morning was by Sharon Ridley, "Changes."
Right.
And that was a song you never heard that on the radio.
Yeah.
And it was just one of those mid-tempo songs to sort of get you ready to maybe either get back out to dance or leave. It was you were gonna do one or the other with the song. So DJs actually manipulated the entire evening. It was very curated the way they would play their music and how they manipulated. If you had a great lighting guy with you, now some DJs did their lights. Did you do your lights?
No, I actually had a light person do my lights. You know what's interesting? When I was doing a lot of these remixes, I would literally go from the studio to the club to try them out. And I remember the first time I brought in Madonna, "Open Your Heart." Which,
well, we didn't get to Madonna. I want a little Madonna juice. Okay, so let's get to that and let's stay there.
Well, I worked on "Open Your Heart." Madonna wasn't at the studio. Warner Brothers called me up and says, "You know what? We have one more song we're going to release on this album. Is there anything you can do with it?" And they gave me "Open Your Heart." So I said, "Sure, I could do it." So when I wound up remixing "Open Your Heart," I did a lot of production work. I wanted to make the ultimate DJ bathroom record. A remix you could do from top to bottom without getting bored. And I think the remix is about 11 minutes long. So mission accomplished. Anyway, I played in this club in Long Island. We had about 2,000 or 3,000 people. I remember the first time I played it, it cleared the dance floor. And
that's what happens with a song that people are not.
Yeah. And same happened when I did Whitney Houston. I want to dance with somebody. First time I played it, cleared the floor. And I'm saying, oh my God, I'm in trouble.
Well, Jacques Morali, my late producer, and I tell this story with other DJs.
Well, I know Jacques, and I told you I mixed a song from you guys, Village People.
I knew that you probably did mix for us. I wasn't really sure.
I'm not sure what song. I'm going to have to look.
But he told me to get dressed, not just to put on a sweater and jeans or whatever, a t-shirt, and go meet him at 12 West. He literally commanded me to get dressed in all my gear and show up with him. And he had the acetate in the white sleeve, and he hands it over to I think it was Richie Rivera that was playing.
I remember Richie, yeah.
And it was Macho Man. And so Richie's listening with one ear, and he goes, "I can't play this." And he goes, "Dale, Sherry, 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 blah, 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 blah." Clap, clap, clap. He goes, "Oh, fuck it. Let me just play it." It cleared the dance floor. And I'm standing there going, "Are you satisfied now? Can I go home?"
It's embarrassing. It
was embarrassing, but the thing is that when people do that, it's because they're not familiar with that mix. So what did you do? You took the acetate back, right? Cleared the dance floor. Did you go back to remix it?
No, I thought it was great. It just, they needed time. No, I thought it was perfect. I mean, it was funny. I remember when I worked with Whitney Houston, and I believe it was Ed Eckstein who turned around to, and Jerry Griffin said to work with her on this was, "I want to dance with somebody." And I loved Whitney at the time. I mean, she was just
awesome. Well, that period where you worked with her during that period, that was glorifying Whitney on the dance floor. It couldn't have gotten any better. I remember when I first heard that song, I was in a club in Washington, D.C. after hours, at a concert, after a concert, and this song came on. I had heard it once, but this time I was hearing it in the club, and I lost my mind.
Yeah, it was interesting because I remember. So I did the mix with my partner Michael Barbiero, and we
And Michael Barbiero and you and him he's your musical mentor.
Yeah, Michael taught me everything I know about engineering. I mean, we were a great partnership because what he knew, I didn't, and what I knew, he didn't.
Right.
So
you complement each other, yin and yang.
Yeah. He was the safe guy. I was the over the top guy. So it was kind of cool. I worked good with like Guns N' Roses and Metallica.
But you ended up working with Michael on some other
Michael, it's interesting. John Luongo worked with Michael before I did.
John Luongo, another great friend of
I mean, what a great talent. And
yes.
So we got to a point where we both worked with Michael together, sharing him. And
sharing him?
Yeah, basically. And what I really wanted to do in the music business, I wanted to be able not to be predictable and work on all genres of music. And I wanted to pick the right person that can adapt, going from like Johnny Mathis to Korn. You know what I mean? And Michael was the guy because of his talent. And we did a lot of projects together. And every time I did something successful, all the guys says, okay, that's what Steve does. And then I completely fuck him up and do something totally different just to mess with them. And that's because I was brought up in so many different styles of music. I mean, if anybody says you're a rock guy, I said, well, yeah. I'm also.
Well, I said to you that you were. That I said something of. I sent you a picture, an early picture of you. I said you were such a rocker, and yes, while you were a rocker, your roots are deep in funk, R&B music, and dance.
Exactly. Well, I mean, my favorite band, probably my favorite singer of all time, is David Ruffin from the Temptations.
Yeah, what an amazing voice there.
I mean, David and Eddie together. I mean, after they left the band, I thought the Temptations were a wedding band. I mean, no disrespect, because I mean the stuff that they did, and we all know the history of David and Eddie. And I know you said David Durain and Eddie did "Girl, You Need to Change Your Mind," which is a
Eddie Kendricks, right.
But I just love their voices, and it was interesting in the '70s. I remember seeing Earth, Wind, and Fire live, and War opened up for them, and I just believe it. Earth, Wind, and Fire were like pre-Prince. I mean, these shows are like out of this.
Big, huge. Yes, I remember.
And to get the chance to work with Earth, Wind, and Fire was another dream come true. And I worked with them, and our song went #1. And you know what the ultimate satisfaction was? When they were on the road, they have a big tour booklet. They gave me special thanks in their tour booklet, and that was like awesome to me.
See, stuff like that may not mean nothing to anyone else, may not mean anything. That gesture right there means the world.
It does.
To someone like you, because what people don't understand is that an engineer, he may work with the artist, and if he's lucky, he gets to see them. But a lot of times, it's a lot of long hours. Long hours in the studio. You're lucky if you have, maybe Mike Barbieri will be with you, but then he's gonna go home. You've got the beautiful, beautiful wife, Joanna. She's gorgeous. Like, I'm sure that works out really well, because you're still with her, right? You're still with her, and so she knows you. They say that if you're gonna end up with the right guy, it's because you know who he is and you know what he does. So she went into your world knowing that, honey, I'm not gonna be home a lot.
Well, you want to hear something really funny? I met Joanne because I was DJing at a club in Long Island. It was around 1981, a club called Channel 80 on the water. Beautiful club, 5-star restaurant. On the docks, people go up in their boat. And I met Joanne, and we started dating. And then I said, Joanne, I don't know if you know this, but I'm a record producer. And she goes, yeah, right. Yeah, okay, whatever you say, Steve. And she didn't believe me. So I'll never forget the day when I sent a limo to pick her and her girlfriend up to meet us in the studio in New York, and she was blown away. She couldn't believe it.
Was that Sigma? What studio?
Media Sound.
Oh, Media Sounds. Okay, great. Speaking of studios, what's your favorite mixing board?
Well, you know, it's interesting. My favorite board to record on has always been an old Neve 8068, 8078. And I love mixing on an SSL, a 4000G or something like that, because I know if I get the sounds right, SSL is such a great board to work on. I know most people don't even work on boards anymore. It's all
No, and I know that you like me. I mean, even though some of the guys that I work with, they do they work with Pro Tools. I
yeah.
always insist that I need a live guitar player in there. I need some live keyboards. I don't care what comes out on this end and how it sounds and how the beat sounds, all that, but I want some live instrumentation as well in
Well,
it. And you also you prefer more live than Pro Tools.
I mean, I've worked on Pro Tools even before it came out.
Right, of course you had to.
I love Pro Tools, but the thing is, the problem I find with people when they make music, and again, electronica and dance music, you could be very clinical with, and you could do everything in the box. When you're working with a live band, you want a certain human element to it. And the problem is when people work on Pro Tools, they tend to overanalyze everything. Where, when I worked on Guns N' Roses' Appetite for Destruction.
Oh my God, what a great album. Woo!
I
think that was the first platinum. Wasn't it the first
well, they got a Diamond Award on it. It's probably
Diamond Award. Wasn't that the first Diamond ever album put out?
Yeah.
Okay, continue. Yeah, congratulations on that. That was huge.
I'll show you. Hold on.
You know who just got a platinum award just recently?
See that?
Yeah, there it is.
That's the Diamond Award.
Do you have a George M. Cohen Award over there?
No, this one is when I got elected to the Long Island Music Hall of Fame. That one?
Oh, I see. Okay, no, I'm talking about the man standing in the corner over there.
Oh, those are golf trophies.
Well, no, Cardi B just got a what do you call it? Award? The one that you just showed.
Here's my Christmas tree. There's my wife. Can you see that, or I need to put lights on?
I see. Is that Joanne over there? Hi, Joanne.
Hi, nice to see you.
And that's my wall of shame, one of them. I'll go back now.
Hey, you should go downstairs and on the record.
Yeah, well, sorry. I'm gonna plug you back in. Are you there?
I'm here.
Hold on.
So when you have an artist in the recording studio, what do they normally? I'm more of a hook kind of guy. I have 100 hooks in my head. The chorus. I'm a shitty storyteller, so I always prefer to flesh out a verse with someone else because I really don't like writing about myself like that. Do you prefer when an artist comes in with the whole song or part of the song, or does it even
Well, two
matter?
things. As a writer, I'm the same way. I write the hook first.
Okay, see, all right.
Yeah, I write the hook first, and this way you get to build a storyboard around the hook.
There we go. Thank you.
And a lot of times when I'm producing, when I'm in producing, I just go through arrangements, I go through lyrics, I go through key, tempos, everything before we even get in the studio. And if I find that the song could be better by being rewritten a little bit, I'll do it.
Right.
I mean, that's what I wind up doing. I mean, I've had writing sessions where the lead singer would make us sit in a closet with the thesaurus, and we couldn't use the same word twice, even if it was and or the.
It was either and or the.
Yeah. So it'd be a word twice. So I'm pretty flexible on that. And, I've always been a hook guy. And I think Clive Davis is a big mentor of me, knowing the value of a great pop song. Nobody better than Clive. I mean, I know a lot of people diss him, but I worked with Aretha with Clive. I worked with Whitney, Expose. I worked with a lot of artists with him, and I've seen what he does to artists. I mean, he handpicks.
Yeah, you actually did an Expose's like greatest hits album.
Yeah.
And another. I forgot how many songs they actually put out, but I think they put out like 6 or 7 top 10 hits.
Right. Yeah.
Something like that. So, being that, of course, the show will evolve and it will be called in the next season, the Disco Chronicles and more, because I find that many cats like you that I have on the show, we do start out talking about clubs and turntables and DJs and this and that. and then we segue into other genres of music. And so we will be calling it the Disco Chronicles and more. So being that you love funk music, you love, you know, what all these guys like Eddie Kendricks and Ruffin and all these guys brought to songs, what was it about disco that made it so exciting? Was it the production? Was the
Well,
storytelling? Was it all?
it was all because again, I grew up on James Brown to Marvin Gaye to Al Green and some of the Temptations, obviously, and just a whole slew of artists in that genre. And in the early 70s, I think a label that captured a lot of the essence where I hung out was Philly International and Kenny Gamble and Huff.
And
And
yeah, out of Philadelphia.
the Philadelphia Sound, MSFP, and
And MFSB came out of that.
right, Teddy Pendergrass, the OJs, Dexter Wanzel, McFadden and Whitehead. And it was kind of interesting. I was at a Clive Davis pre-Grammy party at the Plaza Hotel, and I was sitting at the table with Clive, Donald Trump, his girlfriend, Kenny Gamble. And I sat and talked to Kenny for a while. I says, you know, Kenny, I love to remix the greatest of your label. And I would name every artist on his label. And he looks at me, oh, I can't believe this white guy actually knows all my artists. You know, he gave me that look. And
Yeah.
I had so much respect for, you know, obviously you had Earl Young, who was a big part of the MSFB.
I was just with Earl Young in Florida 2 weeks ago.
I don't know why. I used to be friends with him on Facebook. I don't know what happened.
Oh, I don't know. He's there. He was actually. I just posted something that
Well,
did
tell him.
on your page, and I put up the thing that he was doing his drumming thing.
Well, you better tell him to get his act together and add me as a friend again.
I will tell him. I will tell him that myself. I will do that. I will do that.
But anyway, I thought Philly International as a whole was the Motown of the 70s, almost, you know, and that was a big influence in dance music. And, you know, growing up in New York and working New York clubs and this and that, there was such a cultural thing with the music we were playing in, which I loved. I loved R&B music. I loved dance music. I even loved EDM. And I loved EDM. I remember in the 90s, this band did Ordinary World, the Duran Duran song. I believe Aurora floored me. I love EDM. I do. I love the high energy EDM too.
Yeah, I just had 2 songs out 2 summers ago, and then it was just turned into an EDM remix, and then I just put something else out last summer, and the DJ, Nicky Tats out of Staten Island, he gave it an EDM sound.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm gonna send that to you so you could check it out.
I'd love to. Well, EDM became basically glorified house music.
Right? Yes.
You know, I was remember I was in the booth with Larry Levan, and he couldn't understand why I was into rap at the time because I love Public Enemy, Cypress Hill. I love that early sound.
Oh, but still, I mean, that was poetry, and that was like turning on the news and hearing what was going on through their lenses. And
well, Larry was not.
There were storytellers. There were storytellers.
I loved it. Larry.
Me too. Me too. They were storytellers.
What was interesting about the Beats, I always felt that New York hip hop would rip off James Brown, and LA hip hop would rip off Parliament and Funkadelic. I mean, that was the type of rip off styles. And to me, I idolized the James Brown band. To me, that band was the funkiest motherfucking band I've ever heard.
They were amazing. That horn section.
Fred Wesley and Fred Wesley was the horn guy on that. And also the bass player, oh God, I'm drawing a blank here, and Stubberfeld on drums. I mean, the original funky drummer. I mean, and you know what's cool about James? He dictated what the musicians would play. I mean, so the feel you see is James's feel. And I saw early sections of him. Well, I got this. James is a genius, what he did, you know, with the band. I mean, he was definitely very authoritative with the musicians. I remember.
But he also knew how to break a band down too.
Oh yeah.
And because he also picked up a lot of live musicians when he toured, he didn't come out with his full ensemble. So he would come out and would pick up, you know, three session players here and two here, and so when he had to do a sound check, he did a sound check that was like a show,
Oh yeah.
and it was exhausting because I had some friends that toured with him, and they said to me, older cats, they said, hard working man, wore
Oh
my
yeah.
ass out.
I'll give you a quick funny story. My partner Michael Barbiero got commissioned to work on a James Brown album in Japan. This story is hysterical. So they're in a meeting. Michael's there with them, with a bunch of Japanese business people, chain smoking in the room. And James Brown starts talking. He's talking job. Hey, how you guys do that? He's talking like that, and they're all sweating, don't know how to react. So Michael goes, "What Mr. Brown is trying to say is that we're making a monumental, historic album here." Lays it down, and then after that speech, James goes, "You can call me James." He would never let anybody call him James. You have to call him Mr. Brown.
Right.
I remember Bob James. I was a story told where they had the band. Bob James is in it, and James Brown's given this whole big speech, and he goes at the end. He says, "You're all going to be good if you call me Mr. Brown." And I think it was Bob James goes right on James, and he fired his ass right there, which I thought was hysterical.
Now we've covered a lot of different areas in the music business and with DJs in the clubs and and vinyl records and CDs and all this. And today with I always there's something I believe I sent it to your phone because I think that you're a believer like I am of this situation that I just sent to you. And while it might be a joke to some people, to me it is really is it I really always I say it a lot that I hope that the next big trend in music is talent because you have these artists that are being glorified not for the talent because they're good singers or good songwriters, but because they're got so many followers and likes and
Well,
all
let
that.
me explain something to you on the business.
Like gone is the day of Casablanca when they nurtured Motown, Philly. Gone are the days when we would have to sit with a publicist and they would throw questions at us. Like this is what a press conference is going to be like. Be on your toes. Only stick to the music. No politics. No set. I mean, we were.
I mean, politics has always been in music, but be as it may.
It's always been in music, but it's never been, it was sort of like a light grooming that the labels would give you. How to talk to the media, how to answer questions, make them short and quick.
We have to understand today's music business. First of all, the A&Ring of yesterday is no longer there today.
It's gone, yeah.
A&Ring today is trolling YouTube, and you can see a person shitting on a toilet that has 50 million views. It's going to be a company that wants to sign them, okay? And sad but true, they're not spending the dollars on developing artists anymore.
Now you do know that one of the most famous YouTubers that came out in the last decade, more so now, was Bieber. He was discovered on YouTube, but the boy truly is talented.
Right.
This kid didn't have followers like that,
Well, that's it. It's a new medium now. Do I agree with it? No, because I think great artists need to be nurtured. Okay, they need to. Used to be, well, we're not worried if they don't sell an album 1 or 2, but 3 we expect something. Now forget it. If you don't hit on your first song, you're out of there. That's sad.
Yeah, not only that, it made them hungry. It made them want to work for it. They knew that they had to really get their act together, so that if their label said, "Look, your record is climbing the charts, it's charting. Get ready, start putting your show together, start letting us know what is it that you're going to wear. We'll set up a photo session." Like all of that grooming now. Not saying that I'm talking about artists that are being developed today. A lot of them now have their own stylists. A lot of them have their own PR reps. So basically, the label does pretty much nothing but distribute the music.
Well, I got to ask you a question. When you first did Village People, What made you wear the costumes? It was your idea, or was it somebody else?
Well, my dad is American Indian, so I was dressed like that before Village People. That's how Jacques Morale saw me through the city in New York with my long hair braided, all in my gear because I wanted to look different. I danced and I sang, and I wanted to go to places where people could say, you know what, let's hire that guy because as good as a dancer as this guy over here, but I like the way he looks. He's bringing something extra to the table. So
Okay.
that extra is what got Jacques' attention.
So
And
was
that's when he told me the idea with Henri Belolo. He told me the idea that this is the group we're going to put together, darling, and you will be in the middle. And I looked down at the piece of drawing of whatever that was, and I just said, "It's a really stupid idea."
that's great. I thought it was brilliant.
It was great. No, listen, I'm never gonna take nothing back. I have no regrets, none in the business.
Well, for the audience out there, I want to state that you guys in your prime played at a club by a DJ that called Cherries in Long Island in the mid '70s, I think it was.
Yeah,
You performed that night, and
Aries. Wow.
Yeah. I was the DJ there, and
That was a banging club back in the day.
we were excited to have you guys there. It was just like
And
awesome.
then let me tell you something too. Even though the group was a uh, jeans and shirt, t-shirt, leather, half naked guy with a headdress on, and all that, the crowd, they were dressed up.
Oh yeah,
They didn't really care where we were not dressed up like them. They liked what they were looking at. The ripped jeans with the construction worker, with the ripped t-shirt. You
Right.
know, I mean, they just fell in love with the concept. So for that, I'm really grateful. The clubs, uh, it was one thing. We had to always go out to the clubs. Did we go with the band?
no, I think I played a backing track.
We showed up with
Yeah, the singer, backing track, and I believe you guys sang live.
Yeah, no, we had to always sing live. Once Jacques Morale, he would have a fit, that one. Well, listen, as we're coming closer and closer to the end of our show, you have again, not only do you have that rock background, and I read somewhere that you absolutely love Led Zeppelin. I love all kinds of music, but Stairway to Heaven to me is one of the most incredible songs Led Zeppelin ever did. Okay,
My favorite was California. Going to California.
That's a good one, though. No, that's a good one. And Tesla, you worked with them, and then of course Guns N' Roses. It does not get any bigger than that. Did
Wait.
you feel at the time when you finished that album with them?
Let me give you a story on that whole process.
Yeah, because
I just got finished working with Whitney, Madonna, Aretha, and all my stuff was going number one. And I believe it or not, I was getting bored. I told my manager,
let's hear a round of applause,
Yeah.
violins, everyone.
This is true story. I said, I need some rock projects. So my manager
Did you feel? Was it because you felt fluffy, like you did all this pop
I
stuff?
need-
And you felt,
No, I needed a new challenge. I always need to be challenged. So they got a hold of Geffen Records, and I got a hold of Tom Zutat. And the first two bands he gave me were Tesla and Guns N' Roses. And I wound up doing Tesla's first record in Bearsville, New York, with Mike Barbiero. The album went platinum, and then while we were doing that album, Tom Zutat started sending me demos to Guns N' Roses. And we were involved in like 4 different projects at the same time. And I remember when I heard Welcome to the Jungle, I said, I got to do this band. The demo even had November Rain on it, but it wasn't finished yet. And I was dying to do this band. Michael, we were burnt. And the thing is, they couldn't wait. I said, we want to do this band, but we were physically burnt. Can you wait a little bit? And they said, no. I said, okay, I'll tell you what. Find somebody to produce it and we'll mix it for you. I hated doing that, but we still got the same amount of royalties as the producer did, so that was kind of cool.
okay, well then that's good too.
So I remember when we did the album in New York at Media Sound, and Axel, Slash, and Izzy were there Duffy and Steven Adler were in LA at the time, and we're doing the record. And I personally felt, I said, you know what? This is where rock and roll needs to be in this time and place. And I said that when we did the record. And I would be surprised if it doesn't hit. Did I ever think it would be the number one selling hard rock album of all time? Never. But,
All time. Yeah, all time.
you know, we probably sold about 50 million records worldwide on that one record alone. But I felt really good about it. And another funny story is, you know how I got the job working with Metallica?
No, I think. Well, go ahead. Okay, I kind of know, but go ahead.
Lars loved the work we did with Madonna. Is how we got hired for.
Did that have something to do with a drummer, with a drum beat? No.
With the drum sound, they love the drum sound we got on Madonna.
Okay, so roll that back. You finished with Metallica, so now who's contacting you to work with Madonna? The lady?
Oh, no, we did Madonna a while ago. Madonna was Warner Brothers. Vice president. Who was the president of Warner Brothers at the time?
Sire. Oh God, from Sire Records.
No, Sire was Seymour, but I'm talking about Warner Brothers.
Seymour. Yeah. But Metallica. Let's get back to Metallica. So how'd you end up working with them?
Well, first of all, Cliff Bernstein and Peter Minch managed them, and they also managed Tesla, Def Leppard, and they recommended us to Metallica. And Lars heard the work we did with Madonna, the drummer Lars, and loved the sound. He says, "Okay, we want to work with them." So that's how we work with Metallica. Now, the interesting part is we did it up in Bearsville, New York, and at the time they were on the Monsters of Rock tour.
Wow, those things were big.
Yeah, and what they would wind up doing is they would fly up in a helicopter like 1 or 2 days a week to babysit and get what they wanted. And that's how that record went. I wasn't happy with the final results of the sound of it, but at the end of the day, that's what they wanted. You have to give it to them. My only recourse was I wish I had the time to mix it the way I heard it, at least to have it on file. But we were just so busy.
Now, was that always sort of disappointing when you would work your fingers literally to the bone, and then you would send the music on back to the label, and they either changed it or cut it? Did that happen a lot? Was a lot of your production?
No, it
altered?
never. No, never happened. But again, we were working with the band, and Lars and them wanted a certain thing. They wanted no bass on the record, which I thought was blasphemy because I was brought up on bass and grooves and everything like that.
You need a funk, you got to bring the bass in.
Yeah. What I loved about the bass was the perfect marriage between James Hetfield rhythm guitars and the bass. But I found out later on, Cliff Burton, the original bass player, just recently died, and Jason Newsted, the new bass player, I think they were kind of harassing a little bit, and they felt like they didn't want much bass in the mix, and it's the biggest thing on. If you look on YouTube, I got about 1 million hits. Why there was no bass on that record?
All right, well,
I get blamed for it.
Well, don't take the blame too long. We're gonna take another break with Steve Thompson, and we will be right back. 7-time Grammy award-winning songwriter producer. Oh my God! The titles are way so he works with every genre of music. Steve Thompson. So, Steve, let's get back to you in the studio. What do you look for with a singer? Do you like the perfect voice where it's just so perfect that you're like, is it boring, or do you like more raw? Or
I like
a little bit of someone that you really believe they've got something there. Someone's got that.
I like perfect feel. I don't need perfect. I've worked with opera. I've worked with every genre of music. I've worked with singers that had 5 octaves and this and that. I like somebody with perfect feel. You want to see something really funny? I wrote this song in around 2010. It was a dance song, right? And it's called Feel Me. And I made it 16 minutes long. And I used a studio singer in Montreal. I wrote the lyrics and most of the music. And I'm going to play a little part of the song real quick. Tell me if you can hear this.
No.
Did you not hear that? Did you not hear that?
But you'll send it to us and we'll slip that in right there.
Well, hold on. I'm just gonna play a little bit. Hold on 1 second.
Okay.
I'll send it to you.
I'll get it from you and then I'll give it to Estella and then she will go ahead and she will put it in to the into the section here where we are. So that being said, did you just work on something recently?
Look.
Number one DJ. Yeah. So you're familiar with Denise Montana. I just had her on 2 weeks ago. Denise Montana, when she had the song Number One DJ off Atlantic Records.
Yeah, I remember that.
Yeah, she's wonderful. Tell me something. Your the relationship that you have still with Ray Caviano, you worked a lot with him.
I love Ray. Ray is such a sweetheart. I love him. When I got elected to the DJ thing in New York, Legends of Vinyl, I was lucky to hang out with Ray and Patrick Adams, who unfortunately passed away not too long ago.
Yeah, not too long ago. Yeah.
I had a panel on there with Patrick and Ray on there. And I just love. I mean, Ray was the ultimate go-getter promo man in dance music. I love him. He's fabulous.
Yeah. Now, tell me something. Any other acts that you felt that did you meet any of them that wanted to maybe venture into disco or dance music, or was that already by the time you started working with a lot of the artists, disco had already waned?
Well, I remember Raquel Welch came to us.
What?
Yeah, this is
hold everything. Who?
Raquel Welch made me work on a song.
Raquel Welch, 10,000. What's that movie? 1 million years BC. Or
Hey, I'm gonna tell you a quick story about that. It's hysterical. So
that was funny. That was
records that Raquel was doing. Well, this girl's back in real thing. She was on Broadway doing the Woman of the Year thing. Okay.
Yes.
Broadway. And Paul Jabbar wrote the song, This Girl's Back in Town, wanted me to work with her. So we took a meeting with Raquel.
The late Paul Jabbar.
Yes. And the meeting was with Raquel, Michael, me, and my manager, Andy Kibness. Raquel is, first of all, giving the intro that she prides herself in being a serious actress and this and that. She takes everything seriously. And then my manager at the end of the spiel goes, Raquel, you were brilliant in 1000 BC, which is the only part she had non-speaking part. I fucking fell off.
Oh my God. But did she record? Did you guys record?
We did the remix of This Girl's Back in Town. We did that in New York. And
you did a disco, right?
Right, yeah. And it was a disco mix and came out and was pretty successful for her.
Wow, that's interesting. That's a nugget that I got away from me. I didn't even know that.
Here's another nugget. Henry Stone says, I want you to meet with Ann Margaret. She wants to be a disco artist. And I want you to meet with her and see if she has what it takes. Now, obviously, I grew up with Ann Margaret on the Elvis.
Well, yeah, exactly. Who didn't? You're right.
So it was great meeting her. And I listened to her stuff. And at first, I thought it sucked. So I told Henry to pass on it. So she wound up going to MCA and did some stuff. But I don't think it worked.
Now, you actually worked with, believe it or not, Jacques Morali, the late Jacques Morali worked with Eartha Kitt. You worked with Eartha Kitt.
I Need a Man or something like that. Yes.
I Need a Man. Exactly. He wrote that. Now, the thing about Jacques I found very interesting because we were very close. He would always whisper in my ear in that, in his French accent. He was like, Chérie, that means darling.
I know.
Darling, we're going to work out. Now, he would say we, but it never meant me and him in the studio. He would just say, if I said to you, Stephen, we're going to work on something. And you would go, oh, really? Okay. Like, I'm going to do a disco song for Pia Zadora. And I stood there and I said, okay, who's that?
Oh, God.
Turns out years later, we ended up doing a stint, like a 4-year contract, got a 4-year contract of once or twice a year at the Riviera with people like Joan Rivers, opening for us. What was that other comic that wore the toupees and he would say, "Hello." I would forget his name, but anyway. So you worked with Eartha Kitt. How was that? How was like?
That was fucking awesome. I loved Eartha, you know?
Yeah, I mean, she was already an icon.
Yes, and when I turned into work, she absolutely fucking loved it.
I Need a Man. It's huge shit. Every now and then I'll hear it. I hear it.
Yeah, I mean, I loved working on that. It's like with Grace Jones. Working with Grace was like an amazing experience. Just being in the studio with her, we did 2 songs, and she absolutely loved it. And we have some great studio shots.
Yeah, so a contralto, that voice of hers, it's still in great shape. I just saw her a couple of years ago in New York on Pride Island for the 50th anniversary of Stonewall.
Right.
And she went on and she was on stage, I think, for over an hour and a half with a 7-piece band.
Right.
And she could not have sounded more. Oh my God, I had never heard her that good. That good. And yet the next night I saw Madonna, not so good.
No, Madonna is not a singer. She's a stylist. Let's put it that way.
Right. She's someone that's she's an entertainer.
Right. I mean,
she's a good songwriter. She can write a good song. She's a good songwriter. She's a good musician. She honed in her skills. We all know that. But Grace actually was surprising. I was stunned.
I remember when she did a big song. I think it was "I Need a Man." Grace was probably mid-70s. That was a big song for my clubs.
I Need a Man. Wasn't that around the same time when I sent in the Clowns?
Probably, yeah.
Probably in La Vie en Rose.
La Vie en Rose, yes.
No one's ever come that close to touching that song, especially in a disco thematic theme.
Yeah, I mean that was art right there. I just love Grace. She's awesome.
And now you worked with another Jersey Shore girl, Blondie, Deborah Harry.
Yes, that was. I loved working with Blondie. I wound up doing some production work. It was, I think the album was called Curse of Blondie or something like that. Worked with them, got very close with Debbie, and it was actually funny. One night they had the American Music Awards, and she wanted me to escort her to the gig, and I said sure. So we had a great time. I love Debbie.
I mean, oh, wait a minute! You said American Music Awards? Oh, really? Oh.
Me.
We won this over the Bee Gees. They never got over it. They didn't speak to us for the rest of our lives.
The Bee Gees. Oh my God.
Yeah, I know, but but Steve, I mean, we could go on, and I definitely feel like at some point we have to meet somewhere in the middle, or I'm gonna have to do a driving trip and come out to see you and hang out and cook.
Stay with us, and you'll be fed great because I'm a 5-star chef. You'll love that.
Oh, really? Okay, well then I'll be a sous chef.
Okay, and you'll come over. We'll hang out and we'll have some fun together. It'd be great.
Well, this has been really exciting, and I want to thank you again. It's a real honor to have you on the Disco Chronicles. I have to thank Ray Pinky Velasquez, because when he submitted the names for season 2, and I went down the list, I said, but Steve Thompson, he's not disco. I went on and on and on, and he's just listening to me. He said, yeah, but you want the show to have different flavors. Steve will give you a different flavor of many dishes. He said it just like that. He will tell you one story after another. And I decided, well, you know what? Let's move it around. Let's get some interesting guests, some that are in music, some that are not in music, and so again, I want to thank you. And thank you for, ladies and gentlemen, you don't understand. This guy's a big kid, okay? He will send you like little pictures of hilarious stuff, or I'm not feeling well, and he sends me on the weekend these emojis, people with colds, and I'm like thinking, okay, this is someone that you are like me. You step out of your own way to make someone else smile, and I really love that about you.
Well, I like making people laugh, and there's so much crap going on in the world. I just like to lighten the mood up for people. That's my thing. And also, I thank you for doing the show because I never get a chance to talk about my dance disco era, which
No,
was
I know. I saw a couple. Let me see. I think today I must have seen 4 shows. One guy, I could have just moved the microphone and said, "I'll do the interview."
thank you.
You were just sitting there going, "Okay, let me just move some furniture around while he asked me the next question." But I kept waiting with all these other, and I didn't hear any disco, any dance.
They
Um,
never asked me. And that was a big part. That's the reason I got in the music industry. I started from that, and it was a stepping stone to make me do what I do.
And I gotta tell you something, like you and Johnny Iovino, who by the way and you gave him one of your nights in Long Island. I married him and his current wife now. I'm an ordained minister. And he told me that you're generous, but this is how you guys started. Roy Thode, Burgess, Richie Rivera, all you guys started at a very, very young age, and you fell in love with vinyl. You fell in love with turntables, and you became freaking amazing DJs.
I still have 4 SSL 1200 still at home.
Okay, so you have your turntable.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
And I know you have a huge vinyl collection.
Yes, my peak was about 40,000. I'm down to about 3 or 4,000. I just couldn't move it again.
Yeah. So when you have it in crates, is it all packed up?
No, I have shelves built for them. I have shelves built.
Well, they're not going away anytime soon. In fact, now they're doing right now. People are pressing all of their music instead of CD. Now they just go right to vinyl, right to vinyl.
No, I know that's great. I've always been. I'm not a download guy. I always have to have a physical piece, whether it be a movie, whether it be music. I contribute. I'll buy the CD. I'll buy the DVD. And instead of streaming or downloading,
Well, one of those things what was it? The thing that came out where you could get music. I forget what they were called, Napster or whatever it was. When that started, the thing that I didn't like when that began is something you just touched on. It was the physical, the book, the pages. Open up. Okay, turn the album around. Who was the engineer? Who was the musician? Who were the backup vocals? Who remastered? Where was the studio? All the credits, all the liner notes, who the thought and the inspiration behind it. That is all gone. It's very like tiny if you see it.
Well, it's worse than that. The streaming services, they really screw the artists because
they really do. I put out a single last year, and I tell you, what came back to me, I was like,
yeah,
this DistroKid. And I said, and iTunes, not iTunes. I forget the other service, and I just thought, oh my God, this is terrible.
Spotify, and I will not subscribe to them because they rip off artists. The record companies like it because they make major bank, and they don't have to spend money. The artists and the writers get screwed, and that's
they do, yeah. So iTunes at least pays a bit more in the streaming percentage, But I mean, I could keep going on and keep talking to you. I'm gonna have to bring you back for a part 2.
Sounds great. I love it.
I want to thank you again. Say hello to Joanna. I think I saw her with a beautiful long hair, and everyone there. Steve, is my honor. Truly, truly friends from now on.
Yes.
Okay, and you know that. Have a wonderful holiday. Everyone, thank you so much. Our guest, Steve Thompson. Where can everyone find you?
SteveThompsonProductions.com.
Thompson with the S?
No. On my website, it's Steve Thompson Productions.
Got it. Well, thank you again, everyone. Thank you for listening and watching us on Spotify and listening to us on Anchor FM and on Eagle Pro Radio. Thank you again, Steve. Have a great holiday, everyone. See you when I see you.
Bye, Felipe. Have a great one.
Thank you.